Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'll be sharing with you how I made this 3-part corset top. So if you're interested, please keep watching, and also don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful. So I already posted a video where I cut this top. I'm going to drop the link so you can go watch that before you come join us in this video. So we're going to start with the fabrics I used. So I used this piece of leftover black fabric, an Ankara fabric. It's not up to a yard. And also my bra cups, I used interfacing. This is hairstay, and then my lining. So let's get right into the tutorial. So guys, this is how I cut it. I added 1/2 inch all around my pattern pieces. As you can see, I added round the cups, except for the side where we had already added our sewing allowance. I did not add any allowance to that point, but I added 1/2 inch on each other side, and then I cut the center front on fold, as you can see in the video. Then for the back piece, I also added 1/2 inch at the upper part and the lower part. I did not add on the zipper allowance, and also did not add on the side because we had already added our allowance while cutting on the pattern paper. So this is how it looks. I went ahead to notch my pieces so I would know which is which. So you can also notch yours anyhow you want to notch it, so you would be able to differentiate each piece of the cups. For my lining piece, I went ahead to cut the same thing I cut on the fabric, but then I made it shorter on the lower part by 1/2 inch, as you can see in the video, both on the back piece and on the front piece. I made it shorter by 1/2 inch, as you can see. So that's the center front, and this at the side front I made them short by 1/2 inch. So that's all about the lining piece. The next thing I did was to iron my interfacing on my fabric and also on the cups, on the side front, on the center front, and on the back piece. So after doing that, the next thing we're going to do is to start sewing. So the first thing I did was to join my cups. I know I had already notched, so these notches I made was just for me to be able to know which side it's going to be on which side and which is which. So I just went ahead to join the cups, the two cups. After joining, the next thing I did was to open up my seam, and I can iron it so it's going to lay flat, and then place the upper part on it. I also notched this part so I would know which side to sew, and this is how it looks. You can go ahead to pin this down if you want, or you just take it to your sewing machine and then sew it on the lower part. So this is how it looks after sewing. That's how it looks. The next thing I'll do is to open up my seam. I'll just go ahead to iron that, but first I'm just going to notch it. You just notch on that part and then open it up, place it on your ham if you have a tailor's ham. If you don't have one, please, you need to get one. This helps to iron curved edges. So the next thing you do is to iron it up, and then also get a bra cup, place it on the tailor's arm, and then place hemming gum on the bra cup like so. And then we are going to place our sewn cups on it and iron it. This is to hold these to the cups, to the bra cups. But before that, we'll be taking that on our cups. So you just fold your cups into two and then mark 1/2 inch and take 2.5 inch downwards or 2 inches downwards, and then sew it as seen in the video. This is to give more room for our bust. Then of course you go ahead to trim off the excess. Then you can iron it on your cups. This is how it looks. I also went ahead to sew it round just to hold it down. Then I did it for the both sides of the cups, and then the next thing I did was to sew the front piece. This is how you're going to sew it. You're going to sew it by 1/2 inch, sew both sides by 1/2 inch, and this is how it looks after sewing. Next thing you want to do is to open up your seams and then iron it. And then after that, we'll be working on our boning casing. So I just cut this stripe of fabric and then I folded it in. I just ironed it like a bias. You can use a bias tape for this. After folding it in and ironing it, the next thing you want to do is to mark out the mid part of your front piece. So what I did was to use an iron to do that. So I just folded it into two and iron it to get the middle part. The next thing I did was to place my boning casing. You can place as much boning casing as you want. I just used one for the back piece, and you can place it however you want it. And then I used 3 for the front, as you can see. So after sewing the boning piece, the next thing we'll do is to sew our cups. Just watch how I'm placing it. You're just going to sew this round, and also the other part you're just going to sew it. So I've gone ahead to sew it, and this is how it looks. The next thing we'll be doing is to fix our boning. So you're just going to measure that part and then cut it. That is how long our boning is going to be, but then we'll still take out about 1 inch from that measurement, just so that we can have enough allowance to fold this in with our lining. And then I repeated the same steps for the other parts of the pieces. Please guys, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and also give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful. I've got a lot of videos coming up on this channel and you don't want to miss out. So the next thing we are going to do is to work on our straps. So what I did was to just cut my desired width. You can make your strap wider, and then I folded it inwards and then I sewed on it, as you can see in the video. So after doing that, I just went ahead to mark where I want my straps to be. I just measured what I had on the upper part of my cup and divided it by 2. I got 6 divided by 2, which was 3, and that was the point I placed my strap. So if you want, you can sew this top before placing your strap. You can finish sewing your top before placing your strap, all the same. But for me, I chose to fix mine this way. So after pinning it down, the next thing I'm going to do is to take my lining piece and then sew it on it. Remember, we repeated all the steps on this front piece also on the lining. So after placing my lining piece, I'll just sew it and then leave one part open. So I've gone ahead to sew it. This is how it looks. I left this other part open so I can be able to turn this lining. The next thing I'll be doing is to use my hot glue to place it on the upper part of this top, just so I would hold my lining piece so it doesn't bulge out of my top. This step is what I always do to my corsets. So after doing this, you're going to see how this is going to look. Just carefully place your glue and then press it down so the lining stays and doesn't bulge. So this is how it looks after I was done. You can see how the lining is now inside and it's not bulging out of my front piece. The next thing I'll do is to fold that part in and then sew it down. You can go ahead to iron it before you sew it down. You can fold it in by half inch. So the next thing I did was to place my strap on the back piece. I measured my strap. I measured 13 inches. That was how long I wanted my straps to be, or that's how long my straps are supposed to be, because I already measured that on my body. So the next thing I did was to mark out 4 inches from my zipper allowance point. As you can see, the way I placed my tape, Then I pin that down. That is where I want my strap to be, at the back. So after pinning it down, the next thing we're going to do is to take our lining for the back piece and then sew it on the back piece. After sewing it down, you're just going to sew on one side and then leave one side open. So we are just going to leave the side open. We'll sew the lower part, the neckline, and also one side. I don't know if you understand, but I think this is how it's going to look. This is the part that we left open. We're just going to fold in that part and then sew it with the sewing machine. That's to enable us turn the back piece. So this is the other part of the back piece. I've gone ahead to sew the neckline. I just wanted to show you guys how I did the other part. I just folded it in. I folded my front piece in and then fixed it inwards like that. Then I went ahead to sew the down part like so, and then also sew one side and leave one side open. Then I turned it out and this is how it looks. So you go ahead to close up the other side that is open, and then you shape in your top and also fix your zipper on your zipper allowance you left initially, and you are done. This is the final look of our top. This is how it looks. What I would have done differently was to move my straps a little bit outwards, like 1 inch on the front parts, but aside that, every other thing is okay, and I really love the top. So don't forget to subscribe and also give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful. I hope you do find it helpful anyways. Bye. See you in my next video.